Jonathan Lee Riches investigates Bryan Kohberger's former boss. He speaks to the media. The Idaho Statesman spoke to Bryan Kohberger's former boss who hired him, George Curcio. Check this out. So the media is reporting this about Bryan Kohberger. A pretty decent worker. Former Pleasant Valley security supervisor George Curcio hired Kohberger for his school district position. He told the Statesman that he remembered Kohberger as reserved, courteous, and polite, a reliable employee for whom he couldn't recall ever receiving a complaint. He was a pretty decent worker, always there, not one of those guys who would just show up when he wanted to, Curcio said in a phone interview. He was quiet in a strange sort of way, but nothing that ever really reared its head with us. In December 2018, Kohberger was credited with helping save the life of a district staff member after she had a medical emergency at high school, the Pocono Record reported. Luis Fuentes, the district security officer who acted as lead on the incident, deferred comment about Kohberger to the superintendent in February during the Statesman's reporter's visit to his Monroe County home. Kohberger's job, which did not include carrying a weapon, entailed working 8-hour shifts on Saturdays and Sundays as part of a 24/7 security at the district's 4 school buildings, Curcio said. When another officer called out, Kohberger often would volunteer to work an extra 4 hours on his weekend assignment, he said, shuttling between schools to ensure buildings were locked and utilities were operating properly. You drive up, check all the doors, hit the security button to show you're doing your job. Check the boilers, the air conditioners, schoolroom doors, look for broken windows and open windows, Curcio said. So basically, patrolling. So this is coming from a former Pleasant Valley security supervisor who hired Bryan Kohberger. Bryan Kohberger's more or less boss, George Curcio. So Bryan Kohberger worked weekends according to this boss, was like patrolling as security, said he was reserved. What do you think? It's good to hear from people that know Bryan Kohberger. Who is the real Bryan Kohberger? What changed? What happened? Or has Bryan Kohberger always been like this? It's good to hear from positions, people where he worked in different positions, particularly this instance, George Curcio, this guy, who claimed he hired Bryan Kohberger with the Pleasant Valley School District. Bryan Kohberger was a security guard there. His father, Michael Kohberger, also worked there. Not sure if George Curcio hired Bryan Kohberger's father. He worked there and recently retired. So what do you think? It's good to hear Bryan Kohberger's work ethic and a little bit more insight about him. This is for educational purposes. Some people want to know everything and anything about Bryan Kohberger, including myself, so I can share with all of you. Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button covering the Bryan Kohberger case. Bryan Kohberger charged with 4 counts of murder out there in Moscow. Pleasant Valley School District, where he worked as security guard, is in Pennsylvania. Hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, over 2,000 miles away. He goes and does allegedly this crime. I think Bryan Kohberger is guilty. His previous records with security and wanting to be a law enforcement, trying to apply for an internship with Pullman Police Department, criminology. It's terrifying. It's terrifying because if Bryan Kohberger didn't get caught for those Moscow murders, he could have very well been a police officer or another position of trust. And that's scary. Is there other Bryan Kohbergers that are in law enforcement that are out there working? and do, a second side of them and do bad acts on the side that people wouldn't suspect. Stay tuned. I'll be posting more Kohberger, Moscow, Idaho videos later. God bless.